Well, thank you very much for being here today. Thanks to Lo and James for inviting me and host the event, to the sponsors and to you for being here. My name is Natalia Alvarez and I'm going to talk about human rights and quality of life. Human rights has become, in recent years, more and more important for companies, especially the ones operating abroad. It's not enough anymore just to comply with the standards at home. You need to check, especially, as I said, if you're operating in certain countries, you need to check your supply chain, your policies, in order to make sure that everything is okay, because otherwise, as there is a lot of case law there, your company might get in trouble. So, how human rights are becoming then accepting standards in order to measure quality. But how human rights can help quality, and I would like also to mention some coaching skills that can really help to develop this idea. And let's see if this works. Yes, it does. Good. So, can human rights help to improve quality of life in the world? Well, I guess the answer is yes, isn't it? In my years as academic and consultant in the field of human rights, I work along with NGOs, with different stakeholders, and indigenous peoples' government, among others. And those who were really able to make a difference, they were the ones that they could listen, they could engage in a dialogue, they could understand, and they could empathize, and they could act accordingly. No matter how much they knew about the theory, what was important was that they were having these skills. So I think that all these years working with international organizations just gave me the basis for my coaching practice in order to understand how important it was to empathize and to create this rapport that we say in coaching with when you work with people, especially the ones that they are suffering, especially the ones that they are not happy, the ones that they are in a difficult situation, the ones that come from another culture. So let's start maybe with the basics. So what are human rights? Well, human rights just belong to every human being. No matter your race, your ethnicity, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, we all have the same rights. And that's a very powerful idea. If human rights are not respected, your dignity is not respected and is not protected. If you don't have access to food, to a job, if your freedom of speech is not protected and is not guaranteed, if you don't have a right to education, then it's not just a human rights violation, it's your dignity is not protected. So we can say that human rights violations are really against quality of life. But what is quality of life? If we want to measure the quality of life, we can think about an income and say, yes, just take purely quantitative data. However, we probably are aware that if we talk about nutritional needs, the ones from a pregnant woman, an elderly one, a child, are completely different. So how we can make this understandable with this just pure quantitative data? Some people, including Amartya Sen, who was a Nobel Prize in the 80s, start thinking that this way of measuring quality of life was not enough. And we need to start thinking about the capacity of the subjects to obtain what they consider important for their well-being. So it is really about choices. It might be that you have a job, which is paying the bills, which is enough, but it might be also that you wanted to go to the university and study something and do certain profession, but you couldn't, because it's not allowed for a person of a certain ethnicity or culture to do that job. It's not allowed for women to go to university. So then you don't have that much choices. That many, sorry. So if people, they don't have choices to obtain what is meaningful in their lives, then there is no quality of life. in the recent years, we have seen other type of index just measuring quality of life. The Happy Planet Index is a good one. Have you heard about that one? No? So what about if we think about life satisfaction? How satisfied people are in this planet? The average, the life expectancy, and also the ecological footprint. How many space and resources they are consuming to have the life that they are currently living. And this index that has been, of course, controversial is about putting in the framework and put it in the picture the question that we can't talk about quality if just a quality that is not taking into account other people's life. If my life is good for me but is not sustainable for the planet, we can't really talk about quality of life. It's not just about me, it's all about we all live in the same planet. So I guess that we can say that human rights contribute to create quality of life for people in the world. I think that we could agree with this sentence. However, the question, as it said, is how human rights can contribute. And implementing human rights needs to be carefully assessed. What do you think we have on the left side? Can you distinguish? Yeah? Steve, any idea?
Food?
Yeah. It's a food aid packet distributed by United States in Afghanistan in 2001 from the air, so through airplanes. And what do we have on the right side? A bomb, a cluster bomb, that was distributed at the same year, the same time in Afghanistan when the coalition was bombarding the country. What do you think that happened? Sorry, someone is saying something. Any idea? They look very similar, isn't it?
Someone picked up the ball?
Yeah, some children. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people, a lot of children that they confuse and they die because they thought that a cluster bomb could be potentially food aid packets. The idea was good, isn't it? But the implementation went completely wrong. A very popular theme. This is what a feminist look like. So we have been seeing this in the news recently. This idea was launched by a very good and reputable and knowledgeable NGO, charity, with the idea of bringing a wide support to women's rights and say, well, listen, being a feminist and supporting women's rights is not just for women, we also need men to help us, to be with us. So what about making this campaign a little more chic, more available to wider public, and this label that sometimes feminist has that is like, sort of weird thing. If you say that you're a feminist, people will like, that's bad, but you don't look like you're a feminist. Well, he looks like a feminist. What do you think? That was a good campaign, isn't it? Until some newspapers came out with all the pictures of how women, they were producing these t-shirts in another country, how much they were paid, in what conditions they were working. So that has damaged the campaign enormously, because the idea was precisely make feminism, the women's rights available and accessible for everybody, but at the same time makes look like the charity, who has been doing quite a lot of work for women, looking like that they don't care, and they just care about women in certain Western countries that they can pay £45 for a t-shirt. The idea was good, however. And the third example is about charity bags. How many of you has been putting your old clothes in a charity bag, giving for charities? Sorry, yes.
Yeah, no, you're agreeing with that.
I thought it was a question, fine. So putting just your clothes in a charity bag and giving it to a charity and saying, well, people will use it and that's so good, Well, we spent in the UK 60 billion pounds on new clothes every single year. And of course, many of them, we just, the ones for the previous year, we just go away. We can't use it. And when we donate it to charities, only a very little fraction of the clothes that we donate are sold in the UK. Most of them, they are shipped to Africa. And they are flawed in local markets. And they have adversely damaged the garment industry in Malawi, in Mozambique, in Zambia, because they have their own industries, like people, of course, prefer sometimes to buy second-hand clothes from Western countries for a good price in good conditions. So it is still a good idea, donate our clothes to charities, knowing that it's going to be damaging probably some industries in some countries in Africa. Well, some NGOs, to be fair, I mean, they have been tackling this issue, and Oxfam, for example, has created a campaign that has been a little bit controversial for other reasons to say, well, just donate bras. And this is a business idea for you guys. They are not apparently manufacturing industries of bras in Africa because it's very difficult. I don't know, well, don't ask me, but it's very difficult to manufacture a bra. So if you are just sending bras, you're not damaging any industry because apparently that's not something that they are producing in the country. So instead of sending t-shirts or any other things, send your bras, according to Oxfam. Well, that's a way of looking into the question, isn't it? So all these examples, they are, of course, talking about the ethical issues, about using violence in international law, food aid, the fashion industry, and, labor rights. I would like to talk a little bit about dignity, coming back to dignity and coming back to quality, and how we can engage with human rights. And I think that can be applicable to other areas also. So we people, we operate more or less, this is very simplistic, but in 3 levels. We have an identity, which is what we think we are. We are more than that, but we think that I am a woman. I am a mother of 2. I am Basque. I come from the Basque country, and I'm a heterosexual. I have a partner, all these things that what I am, very basic. But we all define like this, middle class, Western European country, and that's something that conforms my identity. So normally when I meet people and I relate to people, I relate from that place, which is my identity. I also have values and beliefs. All of us, we have. Excuse me. In coaching, we work quite a lot with values and beliefs that sometimes they are self-limited. For example, women, we can have children and work. I do believe that I will never be able to get a promotion if I have a child. I will never be able to have a promotion if I marry this guy. Or we all have these ideas, that confront and create a landscape, sometimes to success, sometimes to failure. Some of these values and beliefs come from our cultures. We all operate with a culture, even if you think that you don't. So sometimes the influence has been strong, but it's true that because we come from Western countries, we think that our individualistic cultures, they don't operate. For me, I'm multicultural. I live and travel all over the world. But let's talk about football or some political issues. People, they have strong opinions about that. So, well, then you operate into some sort of culture, don't you? We all do. It's not bad, isn't it? So let's get back to the examples before. When we talk about quality, when we talk about human rights, it's good to bear that into mind and to see how we can improve people's quality of life, how we can improve the way they live. In the previous example about the cluster munition and the food aid packet, probably the circumstances in which people they were living, they were not fully taken into account. They evaluate a little bit the culture, they thought yellow was a good color, they thought that doing it like this and that, but they never came across that they have been bombarded, the country, with this munition, wasn't it? In the case of the T-shirts, implementation, that's becoming a little bit of an evil for most of the companies, because Some people said that it's impossible to produce anything fashion ethically in this world at this moment. So, whoop. I can move this.
Need to press on that.
Allow. Okay, allow. Yep.
I would probably put back to full screen.
Okay, good. So, implementation is becoming an issue, and how difficult it is just to control and make sure that the supply chain is just confirming and following all the guidelines. Sometimes also is about the consequences of what we do. Is the charity back a good idea? How NGOs and charities, they need the money, they need the income to do all the projects, but what are the consequences of sending all these clothes to Africa without really thinking about the impact of what is happening? So this is very important with any sort of project that you want to go, in any sort of thing that you want to do. Imagine that you're thinking, you're working for a company, corporate social responsibility, they want to contribute to a project for indigenous women. There are a lot of data that suggests that many women, indigenous women, they die when they are giving birth. A lot of high infant mortality. So let's help indigenous women to give birth in hospitals. That will be straightforward, it's very safe. So how we can do that? We set up a whole project. But if we don't take into account identity, the values and belief and the culture, we're not going to get it right. We're not going to help anybody. We need to know why indigenous people, women, they want to give birth at home. Maybe if they go to hospital, there are no doctors, male doctors, that's the first thing. They don't speak the language. Many times they're going to end up with a C-section. I can see some female here. I don't know if you have babies. I don't know if you people with a C-section. If you have a C-section, very likely you need to stay 2 weeks without moving. And that's really bad when you need to work in the fields. Indigenous women, they can't afford that. They give birth, they put the child at the back in the sling, and they keep on working. So when we work with people, we need to be looking into this at some point, somehow. So there are some useful coaching skills to contribute to people's quality of life. And I would like just to mention some of them. The first one is self-awareness. We need to develop cultural and gender self-awareness. There are some resources out there, and there are a lot of tests that you can do in order to measure how open you are to different cultures, how open you are to diversity. And that will help you enormously at work. Listening, that's very important. Thanks, Lowen, for this. He passed me this slide. Listening with the ears. In Spanish we say, entra por un sitio, sale por el otro. You know, sometimes you're listening and it gets here, goes out there, nothing in between. I don't know, you people, you're experts in quality. Have you ever experienced talking to someone in customer service who they are not listening at all? And you repeat your complaint and the person just following a script. Yes, madam, and you get infuriated, you're really mad. Yes, madam, and they don't listen, they just repeat something which has been written. And you get really mad. Yes, madam, one moment. Are they listening? Yeah, maybe just with the ears, but we need more than that. We need the eyes. Have you ever experienced talking to someone who is like this? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Your husband, your partner, your children. Look at me when I'm talking to you. It's very important, eye contact. Very, very important. If you really want to show respect, there are a lot of cultural differences, but eye contact is important, and also important to understand if the person is saying something which is coherent, if it's telling me something which is very upsetting and is crying, or is just laughing, or the body language is not reflecting what the person is talking. You need to listen with your mind to understand, and give all your undivided attention and your heart also, to try to empathize with what the person is saying. I don't know if you have ever experienced being truly listened by somebody. It's very powerful, because then it's like, yes, you're very mad, you just said what you need to say, and the other person can embrace that, can hold it, and poof, it goes. Listening is very, very, you people, you're going to be in customer service, please make me a favor. Try to do something about this listening. Engaging in respectful dialogue, which is listening without judging, creating the space in which the person can say what they need to say. You can understand someone's point of view without sharing it. You don't need to just go there and say, well, it's okay, I can listen to that. Doesn't apply to me, I don't believe it like this, I don't live my life like this, but I can still listen to this. There are very interesting examples of listening. Our capacity to engage in dialogue has no limits. I don't know if you know the Forgiveness Project. They specialize in reconciliation between victims and perpetrators. Have you heard about the story of Phyllis Rodriguez and Aisa El-Wafi? Anybody knows this story? Okay, well, there is a video link there, you can watch it. Every time I watch it, I cry. I'm not going to do this here in public, but this is the story. It's the story of the mother of one of the victims of the World Trade Center, and the mother of one person who was accused and convicted of conspiracy for belonging to Al-Qaeda. He was not directly involved in the attack, but he was belonging to Al-Qaeda and supporting the group. Aisha, when she knew that her son was involved in Al-Qaeda in a terrorist attack, she just wanted to contact families of the victims of the World Trade Center. Imagine how brave you need to be to do this. And finally, they did that under amazing security conditions in a prison. And, well, they get each other to know each other. And you know what? Guess what? They become really very good friends. Why? Because they could listen to one each other's stories and share the suffering as mothers. And that was enormously transformative for both of them. And also, had a lot of impact in US politics. You need to imagine that just right after the 11th September in the United States. But there is a small TED Talk also that is worthwhile looking at. What is happening when you talk and you engage with people in any sort of business, and you're just not aware of what are your values, your identities, the place where you are, and you can't listen, and you can't engage in a dialogue, very likely you're going to take a stereotype and you're going to put it and activate it and just let the stereotype talk instead of you. When we use stereotypes, we hurt people. It's against people dignity. It's very damaging. A stereotype is about labeling people, putting it in a box, close the lid, and not wanting to listen to anything at all. It could be that I think that women are useless to get top manager positions because, they get pregnant, they have children, and they want to go part-time, and they can't think about business, They have this mind, they are so emotional. Forget about it. Don't hire women for top jobs. They can't. They are not up for the job. And when your colleague gets pregnant, you see, she got pregnant in 3 years, she's going to get pregnant again. You're going to see that. Yeah, I told you, 2 kids. She wants to go part-time now. I told you, she's not up for the business. So we create a stereotype about the way women want to live their lives at certain age and the way they behave when they want to be mothers and they want to have a family. So we can talk to women in the company and find out what is happening, why they want to go part-time, or what are the conditions, how we can do better to create an environment in which people, they can have a family and they can work. So I have these two videos. They are very, very short. I'm going to play this one first, and if we have time, or if you want to, we can play the second one. It's developed by an organization called Rusty Radiators. I found it really very good. So let me see if it works.
Welcome back to Who Wants to Be a Volunteer, the show that's putting you on the front lines. I'm here with Lily, who's all the way from Europe, and she's one question away from winning the grand prize, a chance to save Africa. Lily, how are you feeling?
I'm quite proud of myself. I didn't think I'd make it.
Well, you pulled through well. Let's not waste any more time. Lily, are you ready?
I was born ready.
Let's play Who Wants to Be a Volunteer. For the grand prize of a chance to save Africa, answer this question. How many countries are there in Africa? Is it A, 1, B, 2, C, 5, or D, 54?
I know I should know this one. I just can't remember.
This is the final question. You can't make a mistake now.
I'll use my last lifeline.
You want to use the Call an African Child lifeline.
Yes, please.
Well, you've helped them so much. Let's see if they can help you. Let's get Michael on the line.
Hello?
Hello, Michael.
Lisa, what's up, man?
Michael, I'm sitting here with Lily, and she's one question away from saving Africa. She needs your help. Lily, the time starts now.
Michael, how many countries are in Africa? Is it A, 1, B, 2? Michael?
I
Michael?
think it's frozen. Damn African lights, please.
What was the question again?
How many countries are in Africa?
Not much help, was he? Well, Lily, we're almost out of time now. If you don't know the answer, you're just going to have to guess.
Okay. A, 1.
Final answer.
Yes.
Well, Lily, looks like you're going to have to pack your bags. But you're not going home. You're going to go save Africa.
That's the Rusty Radiator. There are other videos that they are quite fun. I mean, I found it very challenging and powerful. So I guess that you're here because you work in quality, you're teaching, you're a student in this field, you're interested in this subject. So you probably need to work with a lot of standards and certifications, but I would like you to remember, as you probably know, that standards and certifications are for people, and not people for standards and certifications. So, well, I think that these three skills can really make a difference when you work with people, which is self-awareness, listening and engaging in a dialogue, and please never use the stereotypes when talk to other people and engage with other people. Thank you very much for being here.